but Ripple's going to be fine, in my opinion, one way or the other. I'm confident. And so I'm one of these guys, like, again, I don't get paid by Link2. I don't get paid by Uphold. I don't get paid by Ripple. I don't get paid by anybody. I just tell the truth. So the truth is I'm a customer. The truth is I've invested significant funds in the platform to gain access to these pre-IPO shares.
In today's video, Attorney John Deaton discussed the latest with the SEC Ripple XRP lawsuit, the recent summary judgments from Ripple and the SEC, and what's next for the procedural process, likelihood of a settlement soon. Before listening to him, please ensure to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel.
My goal is first is there's two stages. One is to win against the SEC as far as the token itself, secondary market sells, right? Now, I was the first person in the entire community to go after Hinman, to bring up the conflicts. And I've always said there is a potential case against certain actors for regulatory capture, trying to promote a monopoly and all of that, but we need more evidence, right? Because there's issues of sovereign immunity, qualified immunity. You can't just sue a couple government officials, former government officials, because they're going to say we're immunized by sovereign immunity or qualified immunity. You have to have some kind of more evidence of wrongdoing. It can't just be the conflicts, right? It can't just be you violated this criminal financial conflict law. It has to be more of this civil conspiracy. We're going to give a regulatory advantage to this group and hurt this group. And so that's why I've been fighting for the investigation where you have subpoena power. So after this case with the SEC, if we're able to get an investigation, we're able to get our hands on stuff, then there is a potential significant case going forward against them. As far as, damages, one could argue there's 15 billion was immediately lost, right? So obviously there's going to be people that say it's way more than 15 billion. I'm just telling you the market value cap is 15 billion. But what you would need when you're a civil attorney and you're pursuing damages, whether it is a car accident case or a slip and fall or market manipulation, you have to calculate damages by hiring experts who give you certain damage models of what those damages are, right? And basically it would require experts that you hire who can come in and say, here is the value that was lost. And so that's the second phase of what might be able to be pursued. Right now, we've got to get cleared. I mean, if the judge comes down and says the SEC wins and XRP is a security, then it doesn't matter whether there was corruption, right? We lose. Because this is what I was trying to explain to people, is that the judge has actually stated that the Hinman emails are relevant for impeachment and for cross-examination, but that regardless if ETH was given a free pass or not, regardless of selective enforcement, if XRP is a security, it's a security. And it doesn't matter that ETH was a security and got a free pass. It doesn't matter who had what corrupt mind. It doesn't matter how much people were paid money and conflicts of interest. So we have to win that battle first, and that's where my focus is. In context, what Joseph Grunfest basically said, so he's a very important figure. Being called in as a witness is sure something that could be foreseeable. Exactly what he testifies to and how far you can use him to bring up damages. He's really a fact witness right now in this sense. He basically said what you and I have been talking about, where he said, look, there is no fraud here. XRP was traded for 7.5 years and it was traded openly and publicly. There's no exigency. There's no reason for you to rush this lawsuit as you're walking out the door and all of these people are leaving. He said he brought up the motivation. He said it really makes one question, why are you doing this as you're leaving with XRP when you left ETH alone, and the discretion expression you're using is called into question. That's the same thing as saying, this looks like bad. This is bad motive. Why are you doing this? And then he said that, and it proved true. He said, if you file this case, it will cause more multi-billion damages for innocent holders of the digital asset XRP than any non-fraud case in the history of the United States. Basically, he was saying, take out Bernie Madoff, take out Sam Bankman fraud, take out Ponzi schemes, take out Enron, and you just talk about what you and I were talking about, this strict liability. You didn't disclose certain facts. You didn't register a token, right? He's saying that if you file this case, it will cause more in damages than any non-fraud case in the history of the SEC. And that's what happened. Right. And that's why I said to you is that when you ask me about damages, the starting point is, well, we look at the market cap and say, we don't start at zero, we start at 15 billion, right? That would be how I, as a plaintiff's lawyer, would look at it. Like when I say when I have one of my cases, I say to the jury in a case where someone is going to lose their life and they were still working, I say, I put on an economist, right? An accountant. And he quantifies how much they lost in wages. They can't work anymore. They say the guy's 51 years old. So he calculates if he didn't get sick and died, he would have made, and you consider taxes and all that kind of stuff in the equation, but he would have made $1.5 million between the age of 51 and 65 when he would have retired. So then when I go to the jury, I say, when we're talking about damages here, we don't start at zero. We start at 1.5. Right? That's what he would have done if you'd have not been negligent, if you'd have not ruined his life and taken his life. Just by going to work every day, the man would have made 1.5 million. So that's where we start. And then we get into pain and suffering and what's the multiple of that and all those kinds of things. And so to answer your question directly, when you get to a case, a civil case, you would say, okay, here's the floor. What's the ceiling, right? Mm-hmm. So a civil attorney would use the floor at 15 billion and then work yourself up for it by using experts, quantitative analysis, all that kind of stuff, right? Yep. Things that I'm not qualified because I don't do the charts and all of that. I stay away from price, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know where Bitcoin's going. I don't know where XRP is going. I'm just like your average Joe when it comes to that.
What do you think could potentially become of Ripple when this case ends?
Well, I think Ripple, what we have to do is look at a couple of things. One is I don't defend Ripple.
Not at all.
No, I don't. But I do defend facts, right? If anybody knows me and has followed me, I'm all about the facts and the truth is all I care about. And so sometimes people think I'm defending Ripple when I simply state the fact. And the fact is they were investigated for 30 months and a lawsuit was filed. If the SEC would have found any fraud, they would have alleged it. Like I'm a former federal prosecutor. And if you're going to prosecute this company that has hundreds of millions of dollars, $1 billion treasury in cash, and then they have billions of this asset called XRP that's worth on paper at that moment in time worth $15-16 billion, and I'm going to go after that company that can afford the best lawyers in the world. If I can allege fraud as a leverage, right? I'm going to do it. Like I'm going to bring them to their knees. You were fraudulent on this day and that day. And so they didn't, which meant to me, there is no fraud. There is no misrepresentation. It would have been alleged. So when people I won't name names, but when people say, XRP is a scam and Ripple is a fraudulent company, if they were, it would have been alleged. That's all I can tell you. That I'm 100% certain. And so can you imagine these other companies like FTX and Celsius, had they undergone an investigation, what it would look like? Well, we're going to learn with FTX real soon. And there was a report that there's so much bribery, there's so much campaign finance, there's so much fraud that there's not enough lawyers in the Southern District of New York. And so that's what I'll say about Ripple. I think they're going to be fine, right? Because this is a non-fraud case. In Brad Garlinghouse's words, they are operating as though they've lost. And so they've had a 800% increase in ODL or this or that. The United States, the market is, go ahead.
I want to be a loser with $1 billion in liquid cash on my books.
Right. And so I mean, the point is, and it's why I got involved, Ray. Ripple's going to be fine. If XRP is deemed a security, then it's going to affect, the U.S. corridor and all of that. But they're going to be able to survive as a company, right? They could sell XRP to accredited investors. I mean, if they want it in the United States.
Interesting.
So it would be significant loss, but they would survive. The reason I got involved is because XRP holders are in a different boat. We don't have $1 billion in cash. We don't have 50 billion XRP. Whether we've got $5,000 or 500 or 500 grand invested, if it's deemed a security and it becomes untradeable, it can affect us significantly in a negative way, right? And so that's why we got involved. But Ripple's going to be fine, in my opinion, one way or the other. I'm confident that the judge, even if she finds for the SEC that it would be limited to, specific early sales of XRP, hopefully she'll do a section in her order that distinguishes the token itself as simply digital code. It's not inherently a security any more than Bitcoin or gold is, and addresses the secondary market sales so that we can continue to have the ability to buy and sell and trade and utilize XRP. And so we'll see. I want to address something that's important to me, and I believe it's important to link to, because I know you guys have talked about it, but the accredited investor rules need to change.
Yes.
We have to be able to give more access to regular people. I'm an accredited investor today, Ray, but I wasn't an accredited investor until I'm in my 40s, okay? And that's a fact. I'm from a single mom, grew up on welfare and food stamps in Detroit. I wasn't born into money or anything like that. I served in the military. I can assure you that my 8 years in the Marine Corps, I didn't qualify for accredited investor. Imagine someone serving in their military for 20 years. They don't make $250,000 a year. They don't have $1 million in net worth. And so they can't meet those guidelines. And so that's something that needs to change. Obviously, getting access to quality companies in a pre-IPO environment, something that I always wanted to do. And so linked to, just when I learned of it, I just said, let me check this out. The convenience with Uphold and that relationship that Linked to developed with Uphold, it was just too convenient for me, right? I'm an XRP holder. And as soon as you guys are like, hey, you can use some of your XRP to buy Ripple. You can use some of your XRP to buy Uphold. You can use some of your XRP to buy BitTrue or some of the other companies that I invested in. A lot of it was the use. For me, I'm stupid when it comes to technology, right? I'm being honest. I'm a moron. When I have to get my office here because the Zoom's not working right. And so when something is easy for me to do technologically and it's a user experience is very friendly, that was a big part for me. And so I'm one of these guys, like, again, I don't get paid by Link2. I don't get paid by Uphold. I don't get paid by Ripple. I don't get paid by anybody. I just tell the truth. So the truth is I'm a customer. The truth is I've invested significant funds in the platform to gain access to these pre-IPO shares.